Well, look, John, I suppose we should start with the Merseyside derby yesterday, and a 0-0 draw. Liverpool had a few chances, but just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. Is it 2 points dropped again, do you think, for Liverpool?
I wouldn't think so, Hugh. I mean, everything is done on paper now, you know. They're playing so-and-so, they should get 3 points. But you have to play the match. And I think, looking at the match yesterday, I think Liverpool deserved to win it because Salah had a couple of chances that he normally knocks away and allowed Everton to go back into the game. And it's all ifs and buts. Like, in other words, if Salah scored early on like you did, it's a different game for Everton altogether. Whereas Everton in the second half came on strong. I thought they were very, very poor in the first half, giving the ball away. And Liverpool had a couple of chances, didn't take them. And Everton grew with confidence and actually made a couple of half chances themselves. But if you take it over to 90 minutes, I think Liverpool deserved to win it. I think what's a worry for Liverpool is they're definitely not playing as well as they can play and have played early on the season or even last season, particularly Salah. You know, the couple of chances he had yesterday, he was putting them away with his eyes closed last year. So without scoring the goals, you're not going to get on top. But, again, only time will tell, is it a point gained or is it 2 points lost? Like the way Manchester City go, and you'd have to say at the moment, well, it could well be 2 points lost. But there's a long way to go yet. But I think that they could have won it yesterday. I think they shaded it. But Everton showed plenty of spirit to come back at them and make it difficult for them. And, I think the way Manchester City going, I suppose over the weekend, it could well be 2 points dropped.
Is that your sense of it, Liam, as well? I got the feeling that Klopp perhaps was more frustrated than he let on in his post-match interviews. If you're a Liverpool fan this morning, do you feel it's 2 points dropped that you really should have taken?
Yes, I do. Because we're the better team. So if you're the better team, you should go on and win the match. But as John said, I don't think they're firing on all cylinders up front. And it's been like that now for the last month or so. I think they had a 7-point lead a month ago, and now they're a point behind. And they've got an inferior goal difference. So they've stumbled a little. Although they've had some hard games. You know, the Merseyside derby away is always a hard game. They've had to go to Man U. They didn't lose. But there again, Man United had players injured and they didn't really take advantage of that. They went away to West Ham and didn't win. So it's just at their firing line, the three lads up front who were so electric last year and even at times this season are kind of stuttering at the moment, and I think that's what's letting them down. Defensively, they're still good, Another clean sheet yesterday. And
Van Dijk played very well yesterday, but I'm interested in Salah as well and his performances, Liam. I mean, I think it's 1 goal in his last 7 games, and as you mentioned, a couple of the chances that he created for himself and also that he had yesterday, he would have buried last season without even looking twice at them. Do you think that he's just out of form? Do you think he's a little bit nervous because there's so much on the line here? What is it about Salah that he's just not quite firing at the moment?
Well, he's not the same player he was last season, and I don't know whether it's down to the shoulder injury he picked up in the Champions League final, but he hasn't really been the same since that injury. Yes, he's had his bright times this season, and he scored some wonderful goals. And if you look at his goal return, it's still quite healthy, but it's not what it was last year. And it's a question mark for Klopp because he's substituted him 2 or 3 times as well in big games. He's just not the same player he was last year, and I'm just wondering if it's that shoulder injury. Whether he's confident about having physical contact. Before he was brave, he was getting into the box. He was even scoring goals with his head. This season, there's definitely like a 10-20% drop in his performance.
That's interesting, John. I mean, if it is that he's kind of conscious maybe that he's carrying a bit of an injury. Now, Firmino, well, the rumours are that he's not 100% fit either. Maybe he's not playing as well as he could, but the body language isn't great, is it?
No, well, it's very, very difficult to know, Hugh, to be honest. I would agree with Liam. He's not scoring, agree with everybody. He's not scoring the way he was scoring last year. But I think that the type of player he is and the type of goals he scores, Hugh, the touch has to be perfect.
Okay.
Like if you look at his first chance yesterday, the second touch on the ball went too far.
Yeah.
Right. And he's no room for errors in his approach to getting past the goalkeeper. His touch was immaculate nearly all of last season too, and when he was obviously scoring. But when he's through like that, getting it onto his left foot, same in the second half, his second touch in the ball went too far for him. So obviously it's given the goalkeeper a chance. So it's very, very fine margins with players like Salah, to be quite honest. It might well be that psychologically he's suffering with the shoulder injury. I think physically he couldn't be struggling now, Hugh, because you get over that and you see him running, he's free and he's running. And it wasn't his running that upset him yesterday or stopped him scoring. It was that touch, especially the second touch, where he was usually so close to him that he had enough room to put it past the goalkeeper. Look, if you look yesterday, after the second touch, he's given the goalkeeper a chance.
Yeah.
And there's very, very fine margins in his particular play. You know, you get fellas who are great goal scorers, they whack the ball outside the box, or they do whatever they do. Like Aguero, for example, is brilliant at what he does. But there's none of them as good as Salah as getting at close quarters, beating players, and then just side-footing it past the goalkeeper. And you could see yesterday he was frustrated himself. And I think when that happens a couple of times or a few times in the season, like all strikers, you lose a bit of confidence.
And there's a lot of pressure on him.
Oh,
John.
It's huge. Well, he's playing. He's doing it week in, expected to do it week in and week out. And of course, there's pressure on him. There was pressure on him last year, but he didn't. Probably more pressure this year. But the margins are very, very fine for somebody like Salah. When he gets through, his approach and touch has to be immaculate. And it was slightly off yesterday and probably slightly off for quite a few of the matches this season where he didn't score when he was one-on-one.
Do you get a sense, Liam, that this word nervousness has kind of dominated the conversation since Christmas, really? Ever since Liverpool opened up that 7-point gap and City have been kind of reeling them in slowly and surely. And Liverpool have never really looked all that comfortable with their position as Premier League leaders. Do you buy into that there is a nervousness around Anfield from the supporters to the management to the players, that they just haven't been comfortable with the position that they've been in?
Well, I think the early part of the season, let's say the first 4 or 5 months of the season, it was really tremendous impetus from Liverpool to be fighting with Manchester City at the top of the league. And then, the City stumbled a bit. They lost a couple of games you didn't expect them to lose. And all of a sudden, Liverpool are like 6 and 7 clear. And I think that's when the kind of nervousness has set in. It looks like they're a bit on edge, and people like Salah, Mane, they're not performing like they can do. I think defensively, it's been a very positive season for them. I don't think they've conceded many goals at all. I think they're excellent at the back, the goalkeeper, Van Dijk. It's a really strong Liverpool defence. But up front, I think they're, maybe feeling the pressure a bit. And it's something that we've discussed with Eamon and John before. Not many of those lads have been there and done it, whereas the fellas at Man City have 2-3 titles under their belt, and we know what this time of the season brings. So it's all to play for still.
Yeah.
I think they have a couple of difficult games at school, but I think they have them at home. I think it's Chelsea and Spurs, if I'm not mistaken. They have to play them at Anfield. Klopp was saying that's a point gained yesterday. He said that after Old Trafford, there was a point gained. You'd have to agree in any normal season to go to Everton and go to Man United and not get beat. It's positive results. But when you were 7 clear and now that lead is gone, they're obviously feeling a little bit more under pressure. But I think they can handle it. I think they have the players to come good and get on another run of big games again.
This is where Jurgen Klopp, John, earns his money, isn't it? I mean, if the players, and as Liam rightly points out, you look at that Man City squad littered with players who have been there and done that, so they know what it takes to get over the line. Liverpool don't have that, but Jurgen Klopp has to step in here and guide them.
Well, he's the manager. He's the one that has to try and get rid of the nerves or take on all the pressure that you talk about. But you see, it's a strange situation when we're talking about football. Like this you saying the Manchester City lads, they've been over the line, but that was the first time for them winning it.
Yeah,
as well.
So what is it? Is it self-belief then here? Or what are we dealing with here?
It could be a combination of all sorts of things. First of all, I think the Liverpool players haven't been in this position I mean, it's a long time since they won the league, so a lot of pressure from the supporters. Klopp is the manager, but the players on the pitch are the ones that have to do it. Now, this is an examination for them, right? Can they do it?
Yeah.
Will they do it? Because you can go back to Old Trafford and say, well, like we all said, well, it was a difficult game at Old Trafford. But actually, the circumstances at Old Trafford shouldn't have been difficult. There's 3 players off by half time, and Rashford up front in the second half couldn't run. So this was this wasn't Manchester United versus Liverpool, and Manchester firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
It was anything but they didn't take advantage of it, Hugh.
And after that game, Klopp said that the players going off for United actually didn't help Liverpool because it changed their mindset and the way they'd have to approach the game. Similarly, yesterday, after the game at Goodison Park, he said it was very windy out there, which I thought was an odd thing to say because it was windy.
Well,
it was windy for both teams.
I think what happens with managers, like I remember my father telling me when I was a kid, like all the geese are swans, and sometimes managers don't want to talk about something they did wrong on the day. You know what I mean? It's everything is good. That's been my experience now when I was in the management game, dealing with managers that I played against. Like we beat Manchester United 4-0 at West Brom one day, and Tommy Docherty was the manager. And he said they needed a good kick in the backside. You know what I mean? He didn't say, well done, John, you did well today. It's all about, but instead of addressing the fault, they look for, in my opinion, with Klopp, I think what you should be doing is looking for the faults in the team that day, rather than saying, well, it upset our rhythm in the first half because they had 3 players sent off. That's a plus, right? Not a minus.
No.
So
exactly.
a lot depends on the manager now going into the situation.
And I'd go back to what I said to you about, I suppose the manager kind of permeating down to the players, his attitude, what he says becomes very important then.
Definitely. Well, he's the manager. I mean, a manager's paid. The manager's job in the club is the most important job of anybody's. He's the one that sets the tone. If he's scared, the players will be scared. If he's confident, the players will be confident. Now, we've got to wait and see. There's 9 or 10 matches left now. So that's quite a few matches, Hugh, as we know. We'll only know at the end of it if the players went up to it psychologically, or if the manager didn't do as good a job as he should have done psychologically. But it could be, I know I saw somebody on the telly last week, and I think Liam agrees, that, like the point at Old Trafford could be a point to win it. The point yesterday could be a point to win it.
Exactly.
We don't know, but we can only take it as we see it. And I think last week against Manchester United, I think it was definitely 2 points dropped, because they won't have the opportunity that they had at Manchester United wasn't as strong a full Manchester United team because of the injuries that they had. Yesterday was a different kettle of fish. Everton were up for it. They were very hard to beat on the day, and Salah didn't do what he normally does. But we'll have to wait and see. Is Salah going to recover from that? Is Klopp going to talk a bit more sense after matches? We'll just have to wait and see, Hugh. Yeah. At the moment, it's touch and go.
And Liam, you look at Man City on Saturday, and I watched them. I watched both games in the afternoon there, and Man City, they just totally dominated possession against Bournemouth. But having said that, they only had the 1 goal to show for it. And, at the end, I was going, my God, could Bournemouth actually go and nick a goal here and get a draw? They did lose De Bruyne to injury now. We're not sure how long he's going to be out. But do you get the sense now that City are just in the driving seat here? There are 9 or 10 games to go, as John said. There's a lot of points to play for. But for you, is this Man City's league to lose now, or is it still too close to call?
No, it's just too close to call, Hugh. I think there's going to be stumbles by both clubs, both teams on the run in. Sometimes they'll be unexpected. Manchester City lost at home to Crystal Palace. Nobody expected that, But these things can happen in the Premier League because it is a tough league. It's not like Spain or Italy, and when you're playing against the bottom teams and you just know the top team is going to win. I think the Premier League offers a little bit more surprise than the other leagues, and I think there will be stumbles on the way. I still give Liverpool a great chance. I think with their home form, the way they can perform at Anfield, and if Salah and Mane come anyway good at all, I think they can. I still think they can do it. I fancied them when they had 7 points start on Man City, and now they're a point behind. So obviously, things are much more difficult than they looked to be a month or so ago. But I still think they have the ability, they have the players, and they have the manager to do it.
And of course, they have to go as well. Man City have to go to Old Trafford, John, which would be a very interesting game in April.
Yeah, well, again, it's all on paper. Again, you go back to Liverpool had to go to Manchester United on the day. Really, really difficult match on paper. And nobody can foresee that Manchester United lost to 3 players at half-time. That's the way things go. I think Liverpool are definitely in with a good chance. And I think it could be a blessing in disguise if they're knocked out of the Champions League. You see the injuries that Manchester City are picking up. They're in for 4. Well, they've won 1. They're still in for 3 trophies, and that can be a really, really difficult situation when you're going for the Premiership. I think Liverpool are still in with a great chance.
And De Bruyne is a massive loss if he turns out to be out for a few weeks as well.
Yeah, and he came back. He didn't play well.
No, he hasn't.
But obviously, the more matches you play, Hugh, the more injuries you're going to pick up. There's no doubt about that. And the fixtures come on top of each other. Whereas if Liverpool are knocked out of the Champions League, for example, nobody wants that to happen. Liverpool supporters or Liverpool themselves. But it could well be a blessing in disguise that they have a free run, injury-wise particularly, going into the run-in for the Premiership. I think it'd be a big. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I think it could be great for Liverpool. Knocked out, then go for it. Then they really can rest players. No injury situation or no injury possibility, less possibilities of players getting injured.
So just totally focused on that league?
Definitely. Okay. I want to go back to my own experience. When I was at Leeds United for 11 years, we were in the running. We won it twice in my time at Leeds. And it's no coincidence. The 2 years we won it, we were knocked out of all the competitions early on.
So sole focus was just winning that league.
But before that, we were like Manchester City one time, playing with the same players all the time. We were going for the League Cup, the FA Cup, the League, and we were in Europe as well. And we won 2 of the trophies, which are 2 of the lesser ones, the League Cup and what was then the First Cup. But it's definitely a big help in this run-in now, the last 9 or 10 matches, to have an injury-free run. Manchester City have a lot of injuries at the moment, and they're going into more matches than Liverpool. It could be very, very significant in the run-up. So I think Liverpool are still in with a great chance. I think it's touch and go.